What did your child say in court that saved someone's life? My daughter Mira was 7 when she witnessed her father's arrest. The police said he'd killed someone in a hit and run. They had his car on traffic cameras, his license plate clear as day, leaving the scene where an elderly man died. I was devastated. Mira was confused. Her hero was suddenly a monster. For months, she barely spoke. The trial date approached, and prosecutors wanted Mira to testify about where her father was that night. I'd been working late. She was the only one who knew if he'd left the house. The morning she was supposed to testify, Mira had a complete meltdown. "I can't lie," she kept screaming. "I can't lie in the God house." The prosecutor assured her she just needed to tell the truth. That's when Mira said something that changed everything. "But Daddy didn't take the car. Uncle Paulie did." The courtroom went silent. Paul was my husband's identical twin brother, the successful one, a respected surgeon who'd been supporting us through the trial. "Sweetheart," the judge said gently, "how do you know it was Uncle Paul?" "Because Daddy was wearing his dinosaur pajamas and Uncle Paulie had Daddy's work clothes. They were playing Switch." The prosecutor looked confused. "Playing Switch?" Mira explained it like it was obvious. "Sometimes Uncle Paulie comes over and puts on Daddy's clothes and goes places. He says it's a game. He gives me $20 not to tell Mommy about the switching game." My blood went cold. I remembered nights when my husband seemed different, colder, quieter. I'd attributed it to stress. "What happened that night, Mira?" the judge asked. "Daddy was really sick. He had the throwing up sickness. Uncle Paulie came over and said he'd help. He put on Daddy's jacket and took his wallet and keys. He said Daddy needed medicine from the store." The defense attorney jumped up. "Your Honor, we need to verify this immediately." They pulled the traffic footage again, enhanced it. You couldn't see the driver's face clearly, but there, on the driver's hand gripping the wheel, was a surgical scar. Paul had gotten it during his residency. My husband's hands were unmarked. They investigated Paul's phone records. He'd been pinging towers along the exact route of the hit and run. They found searches on his computer from that night, how to clean blood from car interior, and hit and run sentencing guidelines. But the most damning evidence came from Mira's little backpack. She'd kept a notebook where she drew pictures of the switching game, dozens of drawings over 2 years, dated in her shaky handwriting, showing 2 identical men changing clothes. She'd even written down license plates she saw Uncle Paulie driving, rental cars he'd used for whatever he was really doing while pretending to be my husband. Paul tried to run when they came to arrest him. He made it 3 blocks before crashing into a police barrier. When they tested him, they found he'd been using my husband's identity to write prescriptions for opioids, selling them, and using the profits to fund his own addiction. The night of the hit and run, he was high on the very drugs he'd prescribed in my husband's name. The elderly man's death was because Paul had been swerving to avoid a hallucination. My husband was released immediately, but the damage was done. 6 months in jail awaiting trial, his reputation destroyed, his job gone. Everyone had believed he was guilty because Paul was the respectable one, the doctor, the success story. At Paul's sentencing, Mira asked to speak. The judge warned it wasn't appropriate for a child, but she insisted. She stood up and said, "Uncle Paulie is sick in his brain. Daddy says we should forgive sick people, but I can't forgive him for making everyone think Daddy was bad. Daddy's good. He reads me stories and never plays mean games." Paul got 25 years for vehicular manslaughter, identity theft, drug trafficking, and perjury. He'd let his own twin rot in jail to save himself. The part that haunts me? Mira had tried to tell me about the switching game before. I'd dismissed it as imagination. 2 brothers looking alike. If I'd listened, that elderly man might still be alive. Now Mira's 13. She wants to be a lawyer, says she wants to help other kids who know things adults won't believe. She still has that notebook with all her drawings. She calls it evidence that children see everything, even when adults think they're not paying attention. My husband never fully recovered. He still has nightmares about prison. But he's alive and free because our 7-year-old knew the difference between a game and a lie, and was brave enough to say it in court.